So good morning to all. It's with great honor that I welcome you all visitors and members to 10, the Entrepreneurs Network. I'm Rahul Amrute, Chairman, shouldering the current responsibility of the current tenure. In my task, I'm ably supported by Manoj Tehliani, the Secretary, Mangesh Patoli, the Relationship Manager, and Ram Kumar, who heads the social media. He's the brain behind all these online sessions. 10, the Entrepreneurs Network, is a not-for-profit organization. The single-minded focus of 10 is to help entrepreneurs on different business fields to come together and succeed. To know more about 10, I would kindly request Ram Kumar to play the short AB about 10. Yes, Ram.
Yeah.
Thane, Maharashtra's major industrial town, fastest growing and slated to be the most happening commercial hub. Over the last decade, Thane has grown from a small suburban town to a large self-sustaining metropolis. Proximity to the financial capital of the country has extended ample opportunities to Thane for becoming the richest district in Maharashtra, with potent factors like well-planned infrastructure and low cost of operation. With growing opportunities and upcoming business ventures comes the growing need for business networking to learn, to explore, to connect, and to share avenues for mutual growth. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network, popularly known as 10. Established in 2010 with the intent of providing a platform for entrepreneurs to share their experience, to learn, and to educate fellow entrepreneurs, along with generating business opportunities for mutual growth. Our motto: connect, breakthrough, and prosper.
In 2009, basically, I was totally confined to the four walls of my own retail outlet. Probably that time I was feeling the need to get out of those binded four walls. So there was a business networking group. I joined that, and after 1.5 years, basically there was some disconnect with that particular group. So we wanted to start something which was more Indianized. We wanted to do something to build a community of entrepreneurs. And in 2010, we started this 10 Entrepreneurs Network.
10 is a close-knit community of different business verticals across industries.
10 ने मुझे अभी जो फ़ायदा मिला है, काफ़ी फ़ायदा मिला है. बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ भी मुझे काफ़ी मिली है 2009 से. ग्रोथ काफ़ी हुआ है.
I love 10 as a network because it is very different from the other business networks what you see, and it has helped me a lot in my overall development for my business, for my relations.
And what I found, people around us are all wanted to grow in their business and help the society around, and I am so happy to join the 10.
After coming here, I found a different friendship, a different support system.
10 members contribute connections, ideas, and time to help 10 grow. Members are rewarded with training workshops, insights, network, and camaraderie offered by other like-minded entrepreneurs. They meet alternate Wednesdays from 7:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m.
What I liked about 10 is more of a kind of a learning platform. So I learned a lot from 10, through different sessions, different workshops.
What I like about 10 is core functionality, which is continuous learning for entrepreneurs. That is, we can say it is a core function of 10 on which it operates.
10 has been extremely beneficial to me in enhancing my personality and making me equipped to face the challenges as an entrepreneur.
Connecting, breakthrough, and prosper, which is the mantra of 10, is something which I was seeking for in my business career.
10 conducts activities such as 10 Connect session, open minds, outdoor meetings, and annual conclave. 10 Connect session provides a robust platform to its members for learning and sharing experiences, one-on-one interaction, apart from addresses by internal and esteemed guest speakers. 10 Engagement also extends to events such as open minds, where established entrepreneurs and business owners are invited to share their life lessons and growth stories while interacting with live audience. It's an event that Thaneites eagerly wait for. Outdoor meetings are fun coupled with learning. It aims at increasing member bonding and interactions beyond regular meetings. It includes site visits, visiting fellow members' workplace, and short outings which are extremely high on fun quotient.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, they are exactly following that. That really brings me to here.
Since inception, 10 members have transacted more than 275 crores of business with its members and connects beyond 10. As we move ahead in this path of connecting for mutual growth, we look forward to more heads, more hands, and more hearts to come together. We welcome you to attend the 10 Connect session, to experience entrepreneurial energy, creativity, and motivation.
Let's give our classic 10 clap to 10, which goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 twice.
10. The Entrepreneurs Network. Connect, breakthrough, prosper.
Yeah, thanks, Ram. I would now kindly request our secretary, Manoj Teliani, to introduce the speakers for the day, Mahesh Govande and Swapnil Kulkarni. So over to you, Manoj. Manoj?
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Manoj.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Good morning, friends. Good
Please
morning.
morning.
Welcome to our today's 10 Connect session. Friends, today we have with us two notable speakers, Mr. Mahesh Govande, an equity futurologist and founder, along with Mr. Swapnil Kulkarni, Chief Process Officer and co-founder of PriceBridge Capital. They will be sharing with their views and analysis on our today's topic, responsible investing in today's times. Mr. Mahesh Govande is an equity futurologist who has been consistent in forecasting capital market cycles. He has 19 years of experience in time cycle influence, responsive behavior analysis of events, and capital markets. His interest lies in the study of price patterns, identification of appropriate tops and bottoms on charts, and the most important, forecasting direction of the markets. Mr. Satish Kulkarni has rich experience in mutual funds and has made huge impact in client portfolio management, such that industry has even taken notice of it. So please welcome our speakers for the day with a round of applause. Yeah, over to you, Swapnil and Mahesh.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A very good morning to one and all at 10. It is our pleasure and honor to be attempting to educate all of you on responsible investing. Thank you so much. May I have the screen share, please?
It's enabled, Mahesh.
Thank you so much. So PriceBridge is all about responsible investing. If all of you give me the permission, I would like to begin this session with a small questionnaire, if I may. May I request each one of you to make a note of your score and either post it on the chat box, which we will look at it at the end of the session while we address the question and answers. So let me begin with it. So know your responsible investing score is a small exercise, an investor awareness initiative which we have started. I would like to ask one and all, do you know the cost of your mutual fund which you invest in? So if your answer is yes, mark a score of 1. If the answer is no, it's perfectly fine. You can, put a nil score in there. So going to the next question, are you paying performance fee or fixed commissions towards your investments? I'll repeat the question. Are you paying performance fees or you are paying fixed commissions towards your investments? Third, have you rotated sectors in your mutual funds or stocks? Have you rotated your sectors in mutual funds or stocks? Moving on to the next question. Has your portfolio generated more returns than Nifty, which is our benchmark index for old timers, Sensex, over the past 5 years? So has your portfolio generated more returns than Nifty over the past 5 years? Your answer could be yes, no, or don't know, because assessing one's own investment return is a tedious mathematical exercise. Moving on to the last question in the questionnaire. Have you invested in exchange traded funds, index funds, or direct mutual funds? So if your answer to this is yes, mark a score of 1 against it, or you may mark a 0. Have you invested in ETFs, which is exchange traded funds, index funds, or direct mutual funds? If all of you have marked your scores, you may post it in the chat box. We will take it up subsequently. And if all of you permit me, I will proceed with the presentation. So,
recording in progress.
So let's look at a few common myths. So point number 1 of the questionnaire, do you know the cost of your mutual fund? यार हम सोचते हैं मैं तो म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ, यार फीस तो कोई लेता नहीं है मेरे से. So is it a 0% fee in reality? So the fact remains that obviously a mutual fund levies a expense ratio or a charge which is typically in the tune of 2 to 2.5% on equity mutual funds which are offered through the regular channel. What I mean by a regular channel is more often than not, we tend to use an advisor or a distributor or an agent to make our investments through. So from this total expense ratio of 2.25 or 2.5%, typically approximately 1% of the fee goes towards the distributor, agent, or an advisor as a commission. Okay. So that answers, do you know the cost of your mutual fund? If you say yes, I am happy. If you say no, most of you would have got thinking कि भाई mutual fund में fee कहाँ होती है? So this is what we have, unfolded for you. So this is the fact. Now आप सोचेंगे यार ठीक है यार 1% जाने से क्या फर्क पड़ना है? It is perfectly fine. So this 1% cost saving, which you can do, and it is very easy. I mean, if you find any difficulty in doing so, we would be more than happy to guide you, assist you on that. So I urge all of you members to actually study it and give it a shot, wherein this 1% small cost saving which you may do over 20 years or over 30 years can lead to more than 25 to 30% of corpus. So let us assume that the corpus at the end of 20 years for you, after having invested in mutual funds, were to be 10 crores. Instead, you would end up making a corpus of 12.5 crores after 20 years, or about 13 crores in case your investment period extends to 30 years. So that is a humongous wealth creation opportunity lost if you are still investing through the regular channel of mutual funds. So I urge you one and all to take up the direct channel to help grow your own investments by 25 to 30% more in terms of corpus over longish periods of times. So these are couple of common myths which we wanted to, unfold. So to just give you an example in terms of values, in terms of percentages, at times it is deceptive. I'm sure a lot of you are businessmen or senior management decision makers in business. So while you could have visualized it, we are attempting to throw numbers at you. So 50 lakh rupees invested over 20 years, growing at 12% returns in the regular channel of a mutual fund would have amounted to about 3.7 crores of corpus. The same number would have been 4.51 crores had you just made a decision to move from regular channel to direct channel, which is very, very easy. So 3.69 ke samne 4.51 crores is approximately 25% more corpus. So we have done this at 50 lakh in today's times, while the mutual fund industry is at 30 lakh crore. I'm sure a lot of us hold significantly large mutual fund portfolio in terms of value. So it's going to make a humongous difference to most of you. I'm sure this is of help. Coming to the next question in the questionnaire. So basically, while you move from, the regular route of investing in mutual funds to direct, in that case, you're not ending up paying commissions to anybody because you are eliminating the intermediary from it. So it's a dealing between you and the asset management company. And with the advent of technology, like we are doing the presentation here today on Zoom, nobody would have thought of it about a year back. Likewise, in investments, there is a lot of platforms today which are available and are extremely user friendly for you to go and make this decision for yourself. The third question on the questionnaire was that, have you rotated sectors in your mutual fund? यार हमेशा ये बोला गया है और हमने भी सुन लिया है कि भाई म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसा डालना है ना तो लंबे समय के डालना है. तो लंबे समय में एक चीज होती जरूर है. So let me put in a disclaimer here. We are not against the school of thought of buy and hold or long-term investing. It is just like driving a car. So when you accelerate, obviously, if I am heading from here to Pune, I would be accelerating or driving at a speed of 80 or 100 most of the times. But I would have to brake in between. I would have to re-accelerate, decelerate, all of it. Likewise, all of this, like in nature, it plays an important role in investing. So what happens is I will take you through a dissonance fact. So here it goes, the famous invest and hold approach, advised or practiced by most, can erode years of hard-earned returns. So the fact remains that 1 crore investment, had someone done it in December of 2016, his returns would have been lesser than somebody who has invested 1 crore in March of 2020. Now, this is a recent fact. So आप कहोगे ठीक है यार ये तो ऐसा तो 10 साल में एक बार होता है. नहीं sir, it happens across spectrums time and again. So to state another fact, mid caps have hardly delivered any returns despite the run up from January of 2018 till now. Mind you, your fixed deposits would have yielded higher returns than your mid cap funds had you invested in them in January 2018. So while it is said do not time the markets, what remains fairly important is timing your actions in the market, because that is what makes you stand apart. So we all appreciate Sachin Tendulkar for the sheer timing of it. So what happens when you mistime a shot? More often than not, it goes in the sky and you get caught out. That is what precisely happens even in investments. So timing your actions is going to make you stand out from the crowd, while long and invest or buy and hold, as it is called, is only going to help you the volatility. It brings down the volatility, which is both good and bad. So over longish periods of times, now that let us say if your returns of $100 or 150% have come average. So that's what happens in investments. Okay. So what happens when we rotate sectors or market caps? Like I gave you an example, had one take caps in 2018 and instead done large caps, his results would have been starkly different. His returns would be about 80% in absolute terms, while the same mid cap action would have created half the for him or her, and it would have come with far more risks. Mind you, moving, recategorizing asset classes, choosing one over the other. While I say it, it sounds easy and it appears very easy in hindsight. That's what we have been doing consistently, guiding consistently. So all of this, even if it makes just 2% difference over mutual funds, look at the starking to recategorize or rebalance your investments in a way. In terms of multiples, it is 1.8 times more wealth vis-a-vis your regular mutual fund. And I am sure a lot of you here are ACE investors. Even if you are investing through direct mutual fund route, it is still 50% more wealth what you would otherwise create in direct mutual funds if you were to rebalance sectors. All right. While I say this, rebalancing is often not spoken about. Asset allocation is commonly spoken about. So asset allocation is something which has to be applied very sporadically once in 5 years, which through again an entire market cycle can give you less jitters in terms of drawdowns or losses when markets turn bad, and you make more money because you have lost less. So while everybody refers to compounding, what is often not spoken about is positive compounding. So I'm not saying you would not fall or you would not lose value in your investments, just that if adequate care is taken through asset allocation and asset rebalancing, it can happen so that you can control your drawdowns, and by sheer control of drawdowns, you can add significant wealth to your investments. So to just cite an example, on 100 rupees, when you lose 30%, आपका 70 रुपया हो जाता है. Just coming back from 70 से 100, you almost need 40% returns to come back to capital. More often than not, you erode a lot of number of years in this. The pain of 2008, whosoever has invested, was fresh because there was no recovery whatsoever until 2012. I am talking this about large caps. I mean, God save if one were not in front lines. This year has been exceptional. The markets fell, they rose sharply, but still, had one done the asset allocation rightly, there would have been a significant difference in the wealth which you would have created by sheerly falling less. So we at PriceBridge practice time map. We analyze the risk map of the investments. So by virtue of our proprietary tools and Mahesh's expertise, we were underweight equities through 2019. Not that we knew that COVID was coming. We in fact did not expect markets to come where they came in the March of 2020. We in fact started investing in February and March. So while we never caught the bottom, I would be sheerly lying if I say we caught the bottom. So while our averages were a tad higher, still when markets came back to previous highs, which happened towards June of 2020, we had added about 30% to our investor wealth already. And then thereafter, it has been a dream run. So moving ahead, so this is what I wanted to take you through, the impact in terms of, cost, how you could get benefited, get benefited, and if you were to add 1 or 2% by being passively active, it can create humongous difference to your wealth. I'll quickly take you through ETF questionnaire. Here with you, have you invested in ETFs, index funds, or direct mutual funds? So exchange traded funds are popular globally. They are catching up in India, or they have caught up in India. So just to give you an industry insight, which obviously Mahesh would cover up later in his talk. So ETFs have grown at 44% per annum year on year in India. So we were at 22,000 crore in 2016 on ETFs. Today we are a 3 lakh crore industry. Okay, we are 50 lakh crore industry soon. While I say this, our mutual funds the answer is no. I'll try and cover up what is the role that direct mutual funds play on ETFs. I do not know. While I do not know the answers to whether any of you or some of you have invested in exchange traded funds, they are not marketed because there is no intermediary in their management, because they are extremely low cost. So to just throw an example, let us say if you are investing in a direct plan of top 100 stocks of Nifty, you would somewhere pay between 1 to 1 to an ETF of Nifty 100 at a fractional cost. While I say fractional, it over and above you would save by moving from regular mutual funds to direct mutual fund. Nifty 100 like instrument, you would essentially save another %. And as we say, just quickly, so exchange traded funds are,
Swapnil, your voice is
sure.
cracking.
Somebody,
your voice is cracking on a regular basis. The audio is losing often.
Is it?
Yeah, your net is going up and down. Your bandwidth, the internet bandwidth is going slightly up and down, because of which your voice is getting lost at times.
All right. Am I audible now? Is it better?
It's better, but it keeps dropping once in a while regularly.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll proceed. Just if it gets too bad, do let me know.
Okay.
Yeah. So the advantages of ETF. So I was trying to tell you guys that exchange traded funds are much like a mutual fund, where they are a basket of index. So index underlines, and they are traded, or they are available on the bourses like stocks. So you can buy and sell exchange traded funds during the day, whereas a mutual fund can lead you to a day end NAV kind of a thing. So when markets essentially have opened up, like it's been happening whole of last week, while if you were to reduce your exposure to mutual fund, more than not, what would happen is markets are also volatile. So there is a 200-point move day in, day out, which we have been witnessing over the past few days, you can actually save on those 200 points. And those 200 points could mean small fractional savings periodically, which can again add the cost saving advantage to your investments. So that's point number one. So again, I do not want to emphasize only on cost per se, but there are other advantages. So statistically, about 81% mutual funds, large cap mutual funds, have underperformed the benchmark index in the last 5 years. Now that is a starting statistics. So while you are invested in an exchange traded fund, you are ruling out the probability of underperformance. So भाई मैंने अगर निफ्टी ETF में पैसा लगा दिया, मुझे चिंता नहीं करनी है. I will get the return which Nifty does. Yes Bank यदि निफ्टी से बाहर हो गया, तो मुझे पता नहीं फंड मैनेजर बाहर निकलेगा उसमें से नहीं निकलेगा. But when you are invested in an ETF, वो automatically filter out होना है. So essentially an exchange traded fund is a fantastic legacy instrument for somebody who holds large values in financial assets like stocks and mutual funds to pass on to their children. So मुझे पता नहीं है मेरा बेटा का वो stock markets में आएगा, whether he would be vigilant about his father's investment, whether he would be capable in the first place. So it's a phenomenal legacy instrument where you need not worry कि अगर if you believe in India story or whichever country story, आपने यदि वो index में पैसा लगा दिया, so actually you can buy and sleep tight on exchange traded funds than mutual funds. It would be definitely advantageous vis-a-vis sleeping tight on mutual funds. So these are the few advantages of exchange traded funds over mutual funds. So while I mentioned the statistic that 81% of large cap mutual funds have underperformed the index, the fact remains that you can still assess a bunch of mutual fund managers, their style. Of course, it comes with a bit of study, wherein you can still, go in and out of them while you rebalance your market cap or while you rebalance your sectoral allocations. And I see value in there where direct mutual funds can still continue to create an alpha over, not probably the main benchmark, but other indices consistently. So rather, our suggestion would be to take a core and satellite kind of an approach. So the CEO of Mirai asset management company went on air saying that he is taking up a core and satellite approach to his own investments, wherein whatever percentage, it could be 65 for somebody, it could be 80 for somebody else, wherein the core portfolio comprises of exchange traded funds and the satellite portfolio can comprise of either funds or or stocks for that matter. So that's what ETFs have to offer. While we say that, there are a lot of misconceptions about ETFs. People discourage people from investing in ETFs कि भाई उसमें liquidity नहीं है, माल मिलता, you cannot buy it on the screen. So for some of the HNIs out here, we would like to educate that you can actually create units by approaching an asset management company. Like you fill up a mutual fund form and purchase units of a mutual fund, or digitally, whatever these days. You can likewise purchase units of an exchange traded fund through an asset management company directly. We would be more than happy to connect you to any asset management company who is into ETFs in India. We can put you onto them and you can purchase the units. Likewise, while selling the units, screen पे volume नहीं है मेरा, कैसे बेचूंगा? That problem also would not be there because asset management companies are willing to take back the units of the exchange traded funds, so you can return it back to them. Just that it comes with certain ticket sizes or whatever, but they are not large, believe you me not. I mean, they are typically in multiples of a few lakhs. So we understand the mechanism in and out of exchange traded funds. By virtue of God, we have been one of the fastest growing in the managed ETF space in India, and we are kind of the face to the exchange traded managed industry in India. So that's all about ETFs. So while we spoke about all of these, what is important is a product bad or good? Honestly, a product is not good or bad. It is the application of the product which matters the most. So मैं ETF मैंने कब करना चाहिए, क्या मैंने SIPs करनी चाहिए, क्या मैंने क्या डायरेक्ट म्यूचुअल फंड्स में कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. ULIPs were one of the instrument which got bad mouthed. They were really bad. So when you go back a decade back, आपके 100 रुपए यदि आप इन्वेस्ट करते यूलिप्स में, 70% तो आपका एलोकेशन चार्ज में चला जाता, प्रीमियम एलोकेशन चार्ज विच दे यूज्ड टू से. सो मैं यदि बोलता हूं आपको कि अगर 100 रुपए में 30% का नुकसान हो गया, तो 100 में आने तक यू नीड 40% टू रिकवर. यदि आपके 100 में से पहले ही साल 70 रुपए चले गए, तो गॉड सेव यू. Fortunately, 70% allocation cost products were there between 2003 and 7. While everybody is happy about this 150% rise from the lows of the market over the past 1.5 years, I was very young in my career way back in 2003 and 7, and I'm sure every year markets were growing at that rate. So Mahesh is a veteran; he would probably remember numbers from those days. So what I'm trying to tell you is products evolve over a period of time. Regulators have come tight. Today, AMFI is taking an effort to say mutual fund sahi hai. We are saying mutual fund sahi hai. आपके लिए डायरेक्ट म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, जाके कीजिएगा. वैसे ही यदि आप बाय एंड होल्ड करते हो तो निश्चित कीजिएगा. आपने यदि बाय एंड होल्ड करना है तो देन गो अहेड एंड सेव दैट 1%. आपने यदि बाय एंड होल्ड करना है और आपके म्यूचुअल फंड पोर्टफोलियो को ट्रैक नहीं करना है, आपको एक्चुअली स्टेटमेंट देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. एंड फॉर इयर्स टुगेदर इफ यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन एन ETF काइंड ऑफ अ पोर्टफोलियो, आपको चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप वैसे ही बाय एंड होल्ड कर रहे हो, मार्केट नीचे जाएगा, ऊपर आएगा. You don't have to worry about losers. They are going to get thrown out of indices in any way, and the best part is they would get replaced by winners. So you are going to have all winners kind of a portfolio even if you open it 10 years hence. So that takes me to another fact that I don't know, some of you for stock investors, a mere 7 stocks have remained in the index since the time of listing, which means the balance 43, or for Sensex, the balance 27 have disappeared. So if all of you were to recollect what was Nifty in 2008, today the Nifty is vastly different than what it was in 2008. Nifty is a small example. If you look at NASDAQ, it's crazy. None of these tech companies, the Facebooks, the Apples never existed in 1970s in the US. So while India is a young capital market, there are a lot of learnings to be taken from markets which are like more than 100 years old, something like a US or something like a Japan. We are, typically a 40-year-old market. So I would say that we are essentially pretty young. So that's what is about ETFs. So again, I mentioned briefly about unit-linked policies, which were badly mouthed. Unit-linked policies are one of the finest instruments to allocate your assets and make those switches, because today with, in 2018, they introduced the long-term capital gains tax on, sale of equity instruments beyond 1 year, which was nil. So there are ways and means to mitigate it. Of course, there are floors and ceilings to it, but it is very much possible, and it can be made advantageous to you with a little bit of study. Mind you, from 70% allocation charge products, we have emerged where, while all brands are available, again, between products, you have to keep an eye on a product as to which is a zero allocation cost product to me. Some of the unit link policies available in the market today are not only zero cost, they are cheaper than even direct mutual funds. So as I said, why I took a drastic example of a unit linked policy, which is, I mean, I'm sure most of you would agree that ULIP kharab hai. I don't have to, tell you ki ULIP kharab hai. Most of you would agree there. So with, the passing of time, the regulator has come hard and things have changed. Likewise, in mutual funds, it has happened. We have come of age from where we were paying entry loads once upon a time until 2009. There used to be an entry load of 2.25%. Even your dividends reinvested would get levied and entry load, which was crazy. All of those practices stopped in 2009. Direct mutual funds got introduced in 2012 or 2013. People thought, or distributors thought, nobody's going to buy them. But 2016 onwards, technology platforms emerged. Platforms like Grow, platforms like ET Money, Kuvera, tons of them. I can name quite a few of them have emerged, and they have made the UI pretty simple for the investors. So yeah, I mean, note and hand over to my sessions, your prudent investment decisions. That's what we call responsible investing. Thank you so much. Over to Mahesh. Take this.
Hello everyone. This is Mahesh Govande here. So everyone must be very curious about what next. So currently we are around 17,000 level, 17,200 level. Singapore Nifty is showing negative opening on Monday. So most of you will be much more keen what for the next 3 years. While everyone talks about buy and hold for 10 years, people tell you, I want to buy stock for 10 years. Very honestly, with the changing times and the kind of technologies bringing changes, it is very difficult to take a 10-year call on any company. You do not know after whether the company will even exist. That's how the technology is changing the pace of the market. So generally what we prefer is to have a 3 to 4 year max view on our investments and keep tracking them, keep tracking the companies. So I come from a background where I have been more keen in direct stocks. I mean direct investment in direct stocks. So that's my core USP, or what that is my strength. While doing that, then I started looking at investment as a market. So the global data says practically 75% of the investors, normal investor, person who doesn't know much about investment per se, can just simply beat any mutual fund manager. 75% of the investors can beat a mutual fund manager's performance. The reason, just stick to some top index-based stocks, have a proper allocation, and practically 75% of the investors can beat mutual fund managers. Now, this is the data, global data. Now, the next data that says, Swapnil was talking about sector allocation and sector rotation. The next data says people who have done sector investments, the investors who have done direct sector investments, almost 90% of them have lost money. Now, there is a catch. Very few people can actually catch the business cycles. So normally what happens, people actually look at the companies or the sector which is performing the best, and they end up investing when the markets are at peak. So last month we received one of the highest inflow. So we actually did one of the highest business post 15th October, and between 20th November we did one of the highest business. We got confirmations, more assets under us, because markets were going up and people were like throwing money at us. And my job was to take the money and keep that money in liquid fund. Because as we always say, do not time the market, yes, but definitely track your own actions. So I was actually withdrawing money since 17,700 Nifty. I was slowly withdrawing money. I was also shifting the portfolio. Today we are about 25% on sitting on cash. Now, why I'm on cash? Is my view bearish on the markets? Yes. There could be a short-term dip in the market, and now in last say 10-15 days we have seen a 1,000-point Nifty fall, and maybe on Monday we might see another 200. So probably we are already 10% down from the high. There is an easy chance of another 10% decline in the market. Now, does it mean that we are in a bad shape or we are not going to make money in the next 3-4 years? The current GDP, the real GDP is around 11%. The expected GDP growth is going to be continuously slightly above 11%. And I mean, that is what the industry experts are expecting, the economists are expecting. So with a 3-year view, since technology is changing the space and the kind of GST for the month of October, the GST collection was like 1,35,000 crore, which is again very good number. Going by these numbers, Indian economy is actually now about 2.5 trillion, and expectation is by 2025 or maybe end of 2024, we would be actually 5 trillion economy. If that is to happen, market breadth has to improve. So right now, I am also suggesting to invest in 500 index, Nifty 500 or BSE 500. There are direct equity funds which are giving that 500 ka exposure to you. The expense ratio, Swapnil was continuously talking about the expense ratio. The expense ratio could be hardly 25 bips or 25 paise. A mutual fund will, a large cap mutual fund will charge you 1.10 or 1.25. The Nifty 500 or a BSE 500 will actually charge you not more than 25 paise or maybe 35 paise max. So that's an advantage. My expectation for the next 3 years is we should easily get somewhere around 11 to 12% return from the capital markets. And that is one reason one should keep on doing SIP in, especially in the large cap and the. So I'll give you one more extra data. In from 2010 to 2021, US market, where the GDP is maybe, I mean, they're growing at 3%. The S&P 500 has given more than 13.6% CAGR for the last 10 years. We are talking about economy where we are growing at 11%. Now you can think of what kind of a number it could be. So I won't be surprised if we do the similar for the next 10 years. If Indian S&P 500 index gives you 14% CAGR. Now, mind you, this 14 CAGR would not be consistent. There would be buy and I mean, there could be dip, there could be 20% down. So the 1 year it could be like 9%, next year it could be like 25%. But when it comes to CAGR, the CAGR would be somewhere around 14%. That's the view for the next 10 years. I mean, the information which I am sharing, people who would like to invest from a longer term perspective should keep on doing that. Our so last 10 years GDP was actually bad. It was well below 9%, and still Nifty has given you 13% return in last 10 years. So if you imagine next 10 years, if now we are talking about 5 trillion economy in next 10 years, 5 years. Just imagine in 10 years, we should be somewhere around maybe 10 or maybe 7.5. If that is the condition, if we are going to grow by say 9% or 11% GDP, the real number I'm talking about, then in that case, I mean, inflation adjusted GDP is considered as real GDP. So if we consider inflation adjusted GDP of 11, certainly we should be making more money by, I mean, CAGR should be definitely more than 14% is what we are looking at. So that is one reason why actually we are insisting on stick to the ETF. Now, what will make the difference? ETF globally have been witnessing huge inflows, and the ETF money goes into index funds. So the focus is ETF today, if they are 3 lakh crore, in 10 years, the ETF is going to be about 50 to 55 lakh crore. Mutual fund market, which is around 35 lakh crore today, will become 1 lakh crore market. 1 crore lakh. So there will be a 3 times growth in mutual fund, but there will be a 10 times growth in ETF. And the ETF money will go towards the index funds, the frontline funds, the top 250 stocks, the top 400 stocks. That's where the money will actually move. That is the reason we are insisting on moving your money. I mean, you should have a nice mix, about 60 to 70% in ETF and about 30 to 35% in mutual fund. There could be some space for the stocks. There could be some space for tax benefits like ULIP. People who wish to keep SIP 15 years, 20 years, they should look at ULIP. They should try to use it as a tax SIP. This is what I can add from my end. And any questions? Ram?
We are open to questions. I think Rahul ji or Ram would.
Pinku will be moderating the questions. Pinku, are you there? Pinku, you need to unmute yourself, Pinku. Pinku, kindly unmute yourself. Just give me a minute. Participants, if you all have any questions, you can just put it on the chat box, or you could raise your hand or something, and I could, allow you to ask the question on the forum.
So last year there has been one small mutual fund, which was Quant Mutual Fund. The fund manager has one of the highest churn in his portfolio, the fund, and it has given one of the best returns. Reason, he kept on churning his portfolio. Whereas people who actually adopted, because of the volatility, because of the flow of information, because of the technology, things are changing. No more buy and hold is actually holding true.
Swapnil, you could just close your share screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. How?
There is one question that we have from Pinku. He has asked, that given the current market situation, which mutual fund or ETF should be considered? Please explain the methodology to select and the time horizon, entry time, exit time. Anything on this, if you can just throw some light on that.
So you have to be that. So the question is how to select is again.
All right.
The same question has been asked by Chandrakant Gewade also. How to select various types of mutual fund and index fund on the basis of or level of market.
So I'll tell you the answer. Basically, what happens is what is good for somebody could be bad for the other. So while I say it, there's cyclicity in a lot of things which we do. So today you can consider investing in banking.
Looking for something better if we get across. Yes, sir. Okay. Pardon? Let me know, sir, if there's anything. So we can.
Yeah, shall I go ahead? So
Swapnil, you will have to repeat because the voice broke off.
So I said what is good for somebody could be bad for the other. Why it happens so is because most of the things in nature are cyclical. Okay. So in today's terms, you could look at a banking ETF, a healthcare ETF. I'm not uttering the word pharma because healthcare is a wider horizon here. One could consider FMCG, defensive, that is And on broader indices,
ETF.
you could look at the breadth of the market, which is the Nifty 500 or the Sensex 500.
Midcap 150 is another ETF, which is like low cost and one of the best. What I personally feel is good for a long-term investment. Nifty 100, where you get top 50 companies plus Nifty next 50 kind of companies.
Mahesh and Swapnil, we cannot hear you properly.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Can you just please repeat everything that you said because it was hardly audible?
Thanks, Raj.
Yes, sir. Sure. 1 minute. We are just
Shifting the room for a better internet connection. Are we better audible now?
Yes.
Okay, so where should I be repeating it from? What Mahesh said or what I said?
Can you repeat the entire answer so that this could be, better, so that everybody is able to understand it this little better? You could kind of just take us through the thing entirely.
Quickly, I'll say that what is good for somebody could be bad for the other, primarily because of cyclicity. So if while we speak about sector exposure can be considered in banking, it can be considered in healthcare, which is a wider spectrum of pharma. One can consider FMCG. For long-term buy and hold, we expect the breadth of the market to improve now that frontlines have delivered what they had delivered. So mid-cap 150 is a good consideration to go for, and S&P 500, Nifty S&P 500, so which comprises of 500 stocks.
1 minute. Just now I gave a data. A direct investor, a retail investor should not do sector allocation because the global data says more than 90% of them have actually lost on the sector allocation. Unless you have some access to a professional approach, do not do that. Avoid doing that. It is better to go for the index ETF allocation, which is what Swapnil said, Nifty 150 and Nifty 500 or maybe Nifty 100. That is good for the investors, direct investors who would like to do SIP or hold for next 10 years.
By the way, you guys can do an ETF SIP. Huh? Kind of promoting people to do ETF SIPs. One can go ahead and do on their own, and we are more than happy to assist.
A very simple approach to, since it is bought directly from the market. Now, yesterday markets were down by 500 points. A person you can simply use your phone and just do SIP whenever the markets are down by 1%. You can do SIP on that particular day. Unlike, since I do a lot of time mapping, I do a lot of investment on auspicious days. I mean, I have been able to track some data. As per that data, during a month, there could be few days which actually give you better benefit of investing at the lower level. So I won't really use what I do. I mean, there is a way of doing time mapping. So there are ways how you can actually bring down your investment cost. So Swapnil was talking about saving cost, but while investing also you can save. So if you can do SIP, like yesterday, the markets were down more than 2%. Every month there would be 1 or 2 days where you will get actually at least 0.5% or maybe 0.75% dip in the market. You can do ETF on that day. See, one of the biggest advantage of ETF, you buy real time. Unlike mutual fund, you get the day end NAV. Many a times it happens that markets are down by 200 points and by the end of the day, the market goes into positive. So you do not have control on the what NAV you will get. Whereas in ETF, you can actually control the NAV at what point you want to buy. That is something which is there. I would also like to add one more ETF launched by the DSP Nifty Equal 50. So all the Nifty 50 stocks, I mean in Nifty, Reliance is weight of Reliance is somewhere around 13 to 14%. HDFC is somewhere around 12%. HDFC Bank is somewhere around 12% or something. So here, what you guys can actually do is go for Nifty Equal 50 if your horizon is more than 5 years. The Equal 50 each stock will be bought for only of 2%. So instead of buying Reliance 14%, a Nifty 50 ETF will buy 14% of Reliance. But in equal 50, the Reliance will be bought 2%, the Tata Steel will also be bought for 2%. And if the price and if the weight goes up, it will be trimmed. So the job of the fund manager is restricted to keep all the stocks around 2% in the as an exposure of 2% in the portfolio. So this Nifty equal 50 last 15-year data has actually outperformed index, I mean the Nifty, by almost 2%. That's the data. So it's about now this is I'm talking about last 15 years. Now NV20, the top 20 good stocks from the Nifty, they have outperformed in the last 5 years. So most people now actually moving to NV20. Now I'm actually shifting from NV20 to broader market, because if the markets are going to really grow, or if the GDP is going to be 5 trillion, in that case, it is not, the growth is not going to be restricted to only 20 companies. Then the growth will be about 150 companies and 500 companies. That's why the performance of Nifty equal 50 or Nifty 150, mid cap 150 or Nifty S&P 500, those are the indices where investors should invest. If you have access to information like sector allocation, sector rotation, in that case, definitely they can go for the sector selection. Otherwise, we would advise investors to stick to index funds also. Is that clear? Or
We are open for
about selection of mutual fund? So the mutual fund performance depends primarily on the fund manager. Unlike ETF, the performance is not dependent on the fund manager. But in case of mutual fund, the performance is completely dependent on the mutual fund manager. You have to track his performance. It's like the best of the fund managers will give you the best performance. Now, there won't be any consistency. The fund manager will have his ups and downs. So you have to, again, there also you will have to keep looking at if the fund manager is taking the right decisions, how he actually choosing stocks. Tracking fund manager performance is equally important, because the only way you can track fund manager's performance is not by returns, but because the way he chooses or adds new stocks or removes stocks from his portfolio. So I would actually give one example. I would not take the name, but when the markets were going down and when there was a lot of things happening about DLF and Yes Bank and everything, one of the AMC fund manager came and actually gave us all the reason why he's adding more of Yes Bank and why he's adding more of DLF and what, and he gave me all the fundamental explanations. And there I realized that I should remove all my money from that particular AMC. And we actually did that. And today that AMC has slipped from the top 5 to now almost like 6th and 7th kind of a number. So that happens. So tracking mutual fund is more dependent on the mutual fund manager's performance. Sachin Tendulkar is not going to score 100 in every test he plays. So again, there is a bias. You have to keep fund manager as a primary focus where you have to track. So there are some very good fund and wealth advisors who have this knack of tracking the fund manager's performance. So they actually, they do not look at the returns, but they actually track the fund manager. The style of the fund manager, the investment style of the fund manager matters. And there are some, or rather hardly there are few wealth managers whom I know. One of them, they actually track the fund manager. They actually talk to the fund manager. They go to their offices. They look at their stock selection, and then they will suggest you those names. So any other question on this?
Mahesh and Swapnil, I have a question.
Yeah.
Basically, many of the investors, as you said, are already holding a mutual fund or other portfolios. how can we, I mean, instead of really churning, or how do you help them, or how can you help them manage it better, or the strategy that whatever you suggest, how can this be done in a seamless or without really disturbing too much in this, and how can the money be saved, or you ensure that the mutual fund performs better, or what could be the churn or shift that should be done?
So in terms of churn, there are ways. I mean, what we do is very different. As I said, for a retail investor, it's slightly difficult. You need to have your good advisor or the fund manager, somebody who manages your money. We manage money for our people. So, Raju sir, I'll just take one question asked by Mr. Kannan Ramkrishnan. So he has asked, I have majorly invested in PMS and some mutual fund. Should I? Yes, you should directly invest in ETF. Retail investor can directly approach AMC. They can buy from the AMC, and at the same time, they can buy on the screen also. So there is, the difference will be 5 paise, 10 paise. The jobbing difference will be there, but it's much easier to buy from the stock exchanges. Unlike people think that it will be very expensive, it won't be very expensive. It will be track the NAV and. But the one thing which ETF investor has to do, NAV. Every AMC has their live NAV declared on their site, which is real time. Like 1 minute or maybe 5 minute difference, they give the real NAV. You have to just compare what is the real NAV. Yes, you can do through Zerodha. The only thing is you have to actually just track the NAV. So maybe markets are up and down, maybe, but the NAV could be many a times NAV is, let's say 450, and in the market the price is about 454. You have to wait for the NAV to come down. So you have to purchase around 450.50. You can give 50 paise as an additional extra, but you can't give more than 1% to that. In percentage terms, 0.15 to 0.20 is what is the jobbing difference given by the market makers. Every AMC has a market maker. Every AMC has appointed market makers who actually give you good quote for your investments. So one has to be little bit smart while investing in ETF. It's not that you just go and buy. You have to just track the NAV also. So Kannan sir, you can definitely do through Zerodha. You can directly, you should put your money in ETF. I mean, I would definitely recommend to put money in ETF, and we can always speak about that. I'll just call you for that. PMS. PMS question.
Yeah, so somebody is asking to compare mutual fund and PMS or ETF and PMS. Next question, I think Chandrakant ji has asked.
Just what the. So PMS is for
yeah, compare MF and PMS is what.
Comparing is how do you compare?
So honestly speaking, while the legacy goes that even PMS houses publish returns of last 10 years. 10 years back, there were only a few players. So honestly speaking, if you look at 5 years, the spread between outperformance of PMS and index has also got shrunken. So it is a well-known fact that generating alpha would require effort from whether it is a mutual fund manager or a portfolio manager. That's why time and again, as Mahesh has been saying, that the classic buy and hold approach may not be able to possibly generate a consistent alpha as markets have matured. So you can actually go and check a few of the performances of large PMSs. Of course, the information are out in public domain. So Motila Oswal has slipped quite a bit. ASK has found it difficult to generate an alpha over last 5 years. And for the rest, it will tell the story going forward. So as the breadth of the market improves, people typically not more than not chase returns. So if let us say an asset management company, a scheme or a PMS has done well, people tend to invest after they have performed. For possibly it is the mango is ripened and it's trying to take it out and eat. If you keep it on the tree, it's going to decay. So the same applies to investments.
Swapnil,
Yeah.
whenever you're talking, if you could just rotate the laptop towards your side, the voice clarity is better.
Okay, sure.
You're talking from the sides, we are losing the voice. So Mahesh's voice has been coming well because the
Okay.
laptop was facing him. But when you're talking from the sides, your voice we actually dipped a lot.
Okay, okay. Hope I was audible and I answered the question.
There is some kind of the air of yours also hitting the speaker. So if you could just maintain some
Sure.
distance, I think.
So
it
I'll
is-
repeat the answer quickly for Chandrakantji.
Thank you.
Chandrakantji, it is incrementally difficult for even PMS houses to generate an alpha or Nifty, especially over the last 5 years. You would see that. So some of the PMSs are mid cap heavy. So last 5 years they have support. Some of them who have done large cap. Again, as Mahesh pointed out, since the weight of indices stocks in an index is way higher than what a mutual fund or a PMS manager would hold. So even they have found it difficult for the past 5 years to create a sizable alpha over benchmark returns. And this applies to all large names. You say it and you would have it there. When you look at standalone, मेरे को 15% मिला है, 16% मिला है, 20% मिला है, you feel nice. But when you actually go to that assessment, it tells you the real answer. So that's where my question was: has your portfolio outperformed Nifty over the past 5 years? So statistically, Nifty returns of 5 years is 16%, and your SIP returns of Nifty is 20%. So you did not need a PMS or a fund manager if your returns are, less than 20%. You could have just got it through index.
Any more questions?
Swapnil, my question remains unanswered. You move to Kannan's question.
May I request you to repeat, sir?
नाही. त्यांनी सांगितलं की so we आपण मॅनेज करतो ते सांगू म्हणतो. What we do is
Rajivji, can you please repeat the question? Or shall I look up?
My question was basically like, let's say I'm an investor. I already have a portfolio of mutual funds, and maybe some of them are performing, some of them are not performing. So with the current scenario, how do you ensure that the performance within the limited available amounts or within the available resources, without really doing too much, how can we either reallocate or churn the portfolio to ensure that it is able to perform better? Because as an general investor, it is very difficult for me to track the same. So how it can be done either seamlessly or without too much of a difficulty as a maybe a HNI or a retail investor who doesn't track it on a daily basis?
Sure. So my suggestion would be, we would be more than happy to assist in auditing the portfolio. My sensible or commonsensical advice would be, if the investor is investing through regular plans of mutual fund, I would urge him or her to move to direct plans. So that is going to save 1%. Or he could opt for exchange traded funds. So that would be one notch better than even a direct mutual fund. So he or she can do this himself or herself. There is going to be a definite cost saving. It will also save them from, essentially underperforming the index. So when you choose a plethora of mutual fund, while I say that 80% underperform the benchmark, it is very highly unlikely that the entire basket of an investor's mutual fund has outperformed the index, because 80% are going to underperform. So it's very, very highly unlikely. And especially more than not, people have that style of buy and invest. So a direct mutual fund or an ETF or direct mutual fund is more suited in terms of saving costs, adding that extra to the corpus, and saving oneself from the risk of underperformance or change in fund manager, fund management, the kind of risks which mutual funds run. Hope it answers your question, Rajivji. So we actually do an audit of mutual funds. We give in insights to HNIs, to even industry experts from the financial services as regards global exposure, as regards sectoral exposure, all of it. So typically, a very large size of mutual fund portfolios come for audit because most of them have adapted to the direct route. And when they seek beyond direct, what more can be done? That's when we have actually chipped in with our perspectives, and people have embraced it.
So that's what, Raju sir, we have actually grown in last 1 year because we have been the first to kind of enter in this market of ETF. So wherein we have been able to generate alpha for our clients. So that is where we actually come into play. Mutual fund, to, as I said, it's about the fund manager's performance and you have to track. And in place of index, it is about the index. So again, there is a timing, there is a time map where you have to shift your money. So as I mentioned, last month, I was slightly reducing my exposure to index. And actually, I was reducing even to the technology index, I was actually reducing. So from there, the markets are down by 10%. So even if I have to move, I can just wait for another maybe 1 or 2 months, let the market settle. So risk profiling is what we actually do in the market. So by adding another 2% to your portfolio, as Swapnil showed that in 10, 15 years, 20 years, it makes huge difference. And that's what we actually do. That is our core expertise. And we have been growing because of that. People do bring us their mutual fund portfolios for audit, and we suggest them the ways. Even your mutual fund portfolio, by adding index funds, you can reduce your cost even from that simple exercise also. Saving your cost is what will actually make the difference. Hope we answered your question.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it gives us a perspective on the situation.
So, Mr. Chiplunkar, yes, we do advise retail, but not very retail, but we do advise on SIP, how to go about SIP. And we mainly manage actually HNIs. But yes, we do a lot of SIP work for them. And generally we have, I mean, for us, all the clients are same. I mean, it's not that we don't entertain anybody. We do audit, we do for small investors also, but for them, we have a different plans. We do in a SIP way. In a ETF SIP is what we do for them.
Swapnil and Mahesh, if you could share your contact details and email IDs over the chat window, or you could just repeat for everybody's thing. So if people need any kind of personal advice or suggestions, they can directly contact you or mail you. You could, if you could share that, that would be wonderful.
We will put that on chat. There's one. When can we enter it? So we can. Mr. Avinash Urpe has asked when one can enter ETF fund. You can enter ETF fund whenever the markets are working, between 9:15 to 3:30. That's the answer to your enter fund. And timing, yes, you have to time, because whenever markets are down, whenever markets are in negative, you should, on that particular day, you should invest in ETF. Whether index fund give lower returns since it buys basket where many non-performing. So the returns which we have been giving is inclusive of all those non-performing stocks also. So index funds still outperform most of the mutual funds. So is it right time to enter now? As I said, you can start investing maybe 5%, 10%, keep on averaging the more. I mean, as Swapnil said, banking and healthcare are direct entry points. At their entry points, FMCG ETF is at direct buy point. So for our clients, we have been adding on this particular ETF. Whoever has given us money, we are actually buying for them this. We have reduced our exposure to technology. It's not that our view is bearish on the technology, but technology index was slightly expensive. So we moved from technology to healthcare in the last 10-15 days. That's what we did. I would still suggest retailers not to do sector allocation. The global data is very bad for the retailers.
It needs to be managed.
It needs to be managed. Sector allocation needs to be managed. Just don't go and invest in FMCG. So, Swapnil is putting our contact details.
So these are my contact details. I'll put in Mahesh's. Details as well. 525378.
There is one more question that Chandrakant has asked. In equal weight fund, performing shares will get lower weightage. That's a statement that he has made.
No. Equal weight means equal.
No, so
performing shares will get lower weight. Non-performing will get also the same weight. But over a period of time, see, economy doesn't grow because of the top 20 stocks. If economy has to grow, all the stocks have to grow. I mean, it can't be like selected to or restricted to top 20. The last 5-year phase, top 20 stocks performed. Maybe in the next 10 years, there would be like 200 stocks which will actually outperform the top 20 stocks. In fact, in last 6 months, the top NV20 has not performed. It is M150 has outperformed the NV50. NV20, sorry.
Reliance has not moved.
So Reliance has not moved in last 1 year. TCS has not really done anything in last 1 year. So those stocks, for that matter, HDFC, they have not actually. So banking has actually outperformed last 1 year. Again, it has come down in last 10 days, but
underperformed 2 years.
Though banking underperformed for 2 years, in last 6 months, 8 months, banking outperformed. So the question about whether the equal weight will be there, the weight will be there. And as I said, if you want to remain invested for 10-15 years, then equal 50 will give you a better result.
Okay. Participants have asked for you to share your contact details once again. Maybe you can, just put it on the chat window for people to note it down. Apart from that, I would suggest you all to share the brochure with us so that we can mail the participants. We'll be sending out a thank you mail at the end of the session, and we could share the brochure also. These are two things. Apart from that, we are almost at the close of our session. We can at the most take up one more question before we end the session. If there is any question that anyone would want to ask, please go ahead and ask it over the chat window or raise your hand, and I could allow you to directly take up the question with the speaker. Swapnil ji has already shared the contact details on the chat window. So Swapnil,
5253.
Yeah. I think we have taken up all the questions which have come up otherwise.
Just to clarify, Ion Analytics, PriceBridge is the brand of Ion Analytics. So we are one essentially. So PriceBridge is the asset management division or brand of Ion Analytics. So our holding company is Ion Analytics Private Limited. People would wonder why it is PriceBridge and Ion for me and my.
So Ion Analytics is a research company wherein we have our mobile, we have our own software, research software, and PriceBridge is our wealth management arm. So that's how we have actually segregated.
Perfect. Friends, what you saw today is what 10 is all about. We have some, very good knowledge sharing sessions, which we keep conducting on a regular basis. And in the last 2 years of COVID, we have taken it onto the Zoom platform, and thereby, almost helped around 2,000, 3,000 plus participants to attend our sessions online from across the world and gain valuable knowledge, insights at the end of the day across various different segments and sectors of the industry. So keep following us. We have already shared with you all on the email our 10 YouTube channel link, where you'll get a recording of our past videos. Apart from that, do be a part of our WhatsApp group so that you can stay updated on the upcoming sessions, etc. I would request, Rajiv Mundra ji to give a vote of thanks to Swapnil Kulkarni and Mahesh Govande ji.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today's topic, responsible investing, is the need of the hour. I mean, the way India is growing, and with the growth in the mutual fund industry and interest in equity markets in India as well as globally, and with the new generation of people who are now investing through apps, this is a need of the hour, that how do we invest in the right manner. So Swapnil and Mahesh have taken us through this thing, at that what can be done, two things, that how we can invest responsibly. And one word that they used was passively active, was a very key thing, which was the takeaway from this session. And they have taken us through that, how the mutual fund industry has grown and how we do invest in the manner so that we can, even that small thing of saving 1%, just 1% can add 25% to your portfolio, which is, I mean, really very critical. I mean, we don't really think, we do believe that just that 1% will not make a difference, but they have just pointed it out. So thank you, Mahesh and Swapnil, for bringing us up to date on this scenario. It has been really wonderful and an eye-opener for all of us. We do wish you all the best in your work. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants who have participated in this session. At the same time, all the tenors who have been participating for this session, as well as all our externers and people who have extended support to 10 in this last 18 months for conducting our online events. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you all. Thanks all the participants in 10 for giving us this opportunity to bring in investor awareness and responsible investing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all once again. Thank you to all the participants. With this, we get the session to a close. Do follow our 10 website, 10network.in, and please stay in touch and stay connected. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.